for me to truly be happy with who I am, it needs to not be attached to my artistic and creative success.
Welcome to I was like, what's the name of our podcast? Welcome to Permission to Play.
She's drunk.
I know.
Permission to drink.
Welcome to Permission to, where am I? So on that note, so everyone gets hopefully some happiness from their creative life, what they do creatively, but we have to find happiness outside of that as well. So what does that mean to everybody? Like, what is happiness is really this question, I guess you could say. Like, what brings you happiness? Where does it come from? What does it mean to you? What happens if you can't, always engage in your creativity? Does that mean you're no longer happy? What does that all mean? And where do you source happiness?
Yeah.
Lloyd?
Oh, man. I wanted to jump in on this one.
Yeah.
Happiness is one of those emotions that is all around us all the time, and can be stifled through, tragic events in our life, goals that we set that we're not meeting. But what I found, especially for myself, and I'm speaking for myself, is in the society we currently live in, and the barrage of media and media's medium that I can interact with is so prevalent and everywhere that it begins to become like this thing where I hear all about success, right? Most people who post are doing something awesome. Most people who post are posting things that they're doing, especially in the artistic community, like, oh, I was on set today, or I was doing this today, or I got this today, or this and this and this. And, that cloud becomes a thing of, oh, well, everybody around you is doing these wonderful, crazy, impressive things. And, your brain starts to my brain starts to just go, okay, and focus on all these great things happening. And so when I find myself in a position where, as an artist, like something's not popping off right now, or I'm frustrated at this project, or this project didn't come out the way I thought it was going to come out, I'm not a very happy person. And that can really affect who I am and can send me into a depression and really halt progress in general. And being an actor, that shit is happening. That happens all the time. You can be working one moment and then not have work for a while. You can have a plethora of jobs and then not have anything for years. You just don't know. The whole thing about my career as an actor is you just don't know what's going to happen. And I'm not in a situation where people are sending me scripts and I get to choose what projects I want to be on. And so I have found, and I had a life coach and we talked about this, that happiness, for me to truly be happy with who I am, it needs to not be attached to my artistic and creative success. Because as an actor or as an artist, it's not guaranteed success is going to be there all the time, and mentally the way you think success should be. We can all change that mentally, but in general, mentally, it's not always going to be there, and it's not always going to be constant. So I went through a spell where I was very down on myself. I wasn't really happy with the things that were happening around, which bled into me not being happy around people that I was around, and not knowing that I wasn't very happy led to not outburst of negativity, but it just led to a negative mindset, really. And it really spiraled, and it left me in a dark place of like, man, like, what the fuck? Like, I was still working and doing stuff like that, but I just couldn't be happy with things around me on the day-to-day basis. So I was able to find things and really focus on things that made me happy outside of my artistic community and also outside of my artistic success. And that has changed my whole life and my whole outlook on life and the way that I approach my day to day. I can still not be achieving the goals as fast as I want to be achieving them, but that's okay. I've been able to find my happiness elsewhere. And for me, what that means, so is the little things, like looking around my house, doing something that I love doing outside of art, like planting something and having a little garden and failing at my garden. But failing at my garden is fun for me because then I learn more. You know, allowing myself to go do the things that I want to do, even if it's going to interrupt my plans for the day, such as, man, I really want a coffee right now from Coffee Conservatory. Hit me up. So I'll go get that. I'll go get Coffee Conservatory coffee as opposed to just settling for some coffee over here. Little things like that tend to add up, and they add up really fast. And they have been adding up really fast for me. And those little things have created happiness within myself and the ability to love myself, to understand who I am now, because I'm constantly changing. And so is my coffee shop if they don't hook me up. But that is one of the secrets I think, and I've been telling all my friends who, you know, they come to me and they're really upset, and they, you know, as artists, we always, this isn't happening for me. I don't know what to do. And one of my biggest things is really telling people that, you know, if your happiness is dictated by your success, you are never, ever, ever going to be happy. Ever.
I agree on a lot of those things, especially with the last statement, because success is wow, there's so much we could talk about when it comes to success. Maybe we'll do a topic about that. But let's say you achieve what your quote unquote goal was, then it's over. Then what?
Yeah.
It's not like this thing is a can of success that now sustains happiness for the rest of your life. That's not how success works. That's not how moments in life work. When the moment is over, the moment is over. And then you've achieved things, like you've grown and you have that as a life experience and it becomes a part of you, and all of that definitely happens. And you get to keep moving through and taking those things with you. But it adds to your life experience. But does that experience equal happiness? Like, maybe not. And for me, the whole happiness thing comes from finding that inside myself. And that journey for me has been very much about learning about my process, you know, learning about what, you know, putting a lot of permission around that, putting a lot of understanding and awareness around that experience, which allowed me to then parallel that into my life as a whole and give myself permission as a human to just, you know, be who I am and be, you know, like all of these things I learned about myself through the vehicle of learning about my creative process and who I am as a creative person, so that I could let go a little bit of all of it and give myself space to just be, and then go into what that is. Like, what does that mean? What does it mean for me to be happy? What do I need to sustain that? And it really comes down to, you know, using tools and leveraging things like gratitude and meditation is a big tool for me. That just sort of opened up my whole world and in how to sustain and find the source of joy and happiness, which is in me, which means it's accessible for me all the time. And that boils down to choices. So just to make it really matter of fact, it comes down to making choices. And I could either choose to be like putting too much restriction around things and really focusing around like the goal and the success, and like, this is my expectation of this part of my life, and if that doesn't happen, then I'm either going to be happy or not happy. Like breaking away from those sort of constrictions and norms, I guess you could say, in society that we have learned as we get go through life, and just, again, speaking in general terms, but I do think that that's a big part of how we're influenced on what happy is and what goals are and what success means. But learning that it really is about things being okay and making a different choice based on what I want. I don't want to feel like life is happening to me. I don't want to feel like things are, that my happiness is based on these external things. So I've decided to make the choice that it's up to me how I feel about that. And it's up to me to decide what kind of mood I want to be in and what kind of emotion I want to experience. And then I can go, okay, like, do I want to live in this depression, or do I want to move through it? Do I want to allow it to be, let it flow over me, experience it, and then say, that's okay. I know that I can move through this. And a lot of that comes from trust too. Like learning self-trust and learning that I have the choices at my accessibility all the time, which means I can always choose happiness, and gratitude is a big part of that for me. To be like, what do I have? What do I have? What do I have? What do I have? And then truly honoring that. And then it just opens me up to have so much more. Like having this abundant mentality versus scarcity mentality is at the pinnacle of all of this stuff for me as well. And I know that sounds really like complex, but it doesn't have to be. But
it doesn't.
Yeah, but it was very big when I was learning how to like work with these things and grow out of the sort of habit of negativity that I grew up with, you know. So that's my nutshell.
I've always said that I've always actually been of the opinion that it's more about the journey than the destination, right? So, and I always feel like when people are in a real rush to get to their destination, they're kind of missing the journey, which is actually most of your life, the journey, right? And that's where you actually, like for me, I'm more a person walking the path as a person sprinting the path, right? So I like to be able to go off the path and, you know, just do other stuff and then get back on the path and then go back and then and be free. Like I just find like it's nice to be free to do whatever you want to do. Maybe I'll get up tomorrow and maybe I don't want to play fucking guitar, you know. So I'll go for a drive. I love that freedom. That's what makes me happy, to be able to be free. Anytime I feel like I'm under pressure or that there's stress involved, I'm just not happy. It just doesn't make me happy. And yeah, that's gonna happen. Of course it is. But I like to minimize that as much in my life and just kind of not. Like I like to have like I was saying in the last episode, I'd like to have an outline, but I don't want to be constrained by it. I just want to. I like it, chalk in that path and kind of walk it, and then maybe go off in different directions and come back and get back on the path. That shit makes me happy because when I create something in that mood, it's always better. It's always more honest, and it's always something that makes me happy. Whereas if I put pressure on myself, or I say I need to get it done by this, I need to reach this destination in this stretch of time, I'm never happy with the outcome. Like it's just, and even if I do it all the way I wanted to do it, it's just something missing if I'm not taking it in as I go. If I'm not, so yeah, I mean, yeah, my whole life. I remember thinking when I was younger, when you're younger and you think, I remember I kept pushing this time back. Oh, by 18 I'll be famous. By 21 I'll be famous. Oh, by 25 I'll be famous. You know, and there was a point where I realized I'm not kind of interested in it anymore. I'm not actually interested in that. It doesn't interest me. I don't know what does it even mean. I'm more interested. Like I love the little things. Like you play a gig and one person comes up to you and they legitimately liked your shit, and they leave you speechless, and you're like, oh. As opposed to when I played those really big gigs and I never see anybody. I play a gig and there's like 5,000 people there, and I go backstage and I never see any of them, and I don't know if anybody's enjoyed it. I presume. But like then you play a little gig and there's like 8 people in the crowd, and the second you get off stage, you see that person who was like eyeballing you the whole gig, and they run up to you and they're like, "That was fucking awesome," and you're like, that's legitimate, like that. That's real, like, you know what I mean? So like, if you never experience those things and you just jump ahead to the destination, you'd miss all of that. Like, that's insane. Like, it's insane. Like, So yeah, that's my
Yeah.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
And a lot of our culture is a destination. It's
Oh yeah,
pushing
totally.
for the destination, and it's very confusing because you see the outcome and you don't know the path to get there, and you don't know what that path is like, and so you just,
And the
I'm
irony
gonna
is,
pick this outcome.
there is never a destination. The irony
Yeah.
is when you
Yeah.
get to the destination, you don't even know you're there, and you've
Don't even
pushed
know
the
it.
destination up further. There's no
Hmm.
destination you can get to that you go,
Yeah.
yeah, and you run past the finish line, it's all over. Like that's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, the real destination is the evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to just get to the next level, and then the next level, and then the next
It's like
level.
that. You remember there was that. There was like a video, and it was like it was something like there was a guy driving beside a guy. There's a guy cycling beside a guy in a car, or something like. It was like I think the guy was driving a Ferrari, and then was guy was driving a car like a normal car, and the guy in the car looks at the guy in the Ferrari and goes, "I wish I had a Ferrari." And then the guy on a bike drives up beside the guy in a normal car. I wish I had a car. And then the guy, and it just kept going.
Walking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Right.
remember that one. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I love how you opened it up with social media, Lloyd.
yeah.
Because it really, especially it gets you. And once
Yeah.
you start, it's so necessary because again, it's a really cool time in our technology to be an artist, and it's also really it's a cool time because you as a small artist, people can see your stuff, and you aren't waiting for somebody to show your stuff to. Like you have a lot more power to be like, no, this is what I want to do. I can do anything and I can put it up and like I can find my audience. It's like that's really cool. There's a lot of opportunity with that. But since we're so engaged and so on it and we're seeing all these people like, yeah, on set today or like just finished a film or my single's being released or whatever, like whatever it is, it's inspiring to be like, oh, that's awesome. Like that's so cool. And it's also like a good time to just open up those comparisons to be like, man, like yeah. So, and what's so funny is, I mean, what's so like crazy to me is, when you're doing stuff, you're always getting like 11 or 12 shots so you can save them up to like spread them out throughout these weeks where you're not like, it's like, I'm not obviously like in like doing this every day.
I get that a lot. Like,
Yelpy does that.
Yeah, I do that all
That's
the time.
fine. I get it.
Will message me and they'll go, "Oh, I thought you were in Utah." I was like, "No, that's just an old pic.
No.
I never said that was me." Now.
Yeah, I do that too because I don't want to like I want to be creating. I don't want to be like looking for the shot today or like I don't want to be thinking about that shit. Like I've got other things that I love to do. This seems like it just takes me out of like being engaged in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it like brings me into another mindset. So like for me, it's like, but it causes comparison and
and because the essence of doing it is to cause comparison, right? I rarely think somebody goes, I'm on set, I want to take a picture because I want my mom to see this. It's normally it could be subconscious. Oh, I'm gonna take this pic because it's dope and I want to show people that I'm being successful.
Yeah, because of course, because it's your small business. People want to invest in a small business that's like successful and doing stuff, and like you're doing work, you're working. So yeah, it's kind of necessary. Like it's just like this necessary thing of like, see, I'm still here, I'm still engaged. Because people, if you really like mapped out your day, it'd probably be really boring, like to anybody else. It's like you're on the computer or you're like working on whatever. But
I try and use the stories for my boring shit, so people have that contrast. If you look at my stories, it's nice and boring.
that's good, actually.
The truth is in my stories.
It's nice and boring.
That. Yelpy, I love that.
True stories.
Like if you look at my story today, it's just me like messing with the dog. That's literally all I posted.
Yeah.
So I try and post my stories.
Yeah.
But I just think it's funny that like that's where we're at, right? Is that we're using our platforms to show people that we're still doing stuff in order to get something out of it, right? Like but you're doing it already. You're on set. Like,
That's funny.
Yeah,
already
exactly.
happening.
It's like it's done. Yeah, it's
doing it. But that's what I mean. Like the essence of it is
I know.
there to show off, right?
Well, I'm going to flip the script on that just a little bit, just because social media doesn't have to be self-serving in that way. It can be self-serving in a energy way, and I'm gonna
It's a tool.
So yeah, but exactly. But listen to it this way, and kind of bouncing off of your thing, Kyle, about it being a small business. Like, it's a little less about showing off. It's like, this is what I'm doing, and you want to do more of that. Like, that's the whole point, right? We want to keep doing more of what we love, and if you're on set, you love being on set, hopefully. And if I'm, doing one part of what I do, and I'm like, this is really fun, and I like this, and I want other people to feel safe to go out on a limb and do it, or to whatever it might be. Like, that's usually somewhere in my message. But it's also about, like, who wants to play with me? Like, who wants to come play with me? Like, who wants to come and do some of the shit I do, right? Like, who wants to come participate? Who wants to collaborate? I'm putting it out there not because I want to show you what I'm so great at and what I do. I'm doing it because I want to attract an energy that I want to play with. You know what I'm saying? So it's becoming this tool, like you said, it is a tool, and it can be a really positive one. So it's about how you spin it. Like, are you showing, like, what do you say with your post, right? Like there's another layer to that, because Instagram is interesting that way, in that you have something really visual, and then you can decide not to say anything, and then there's the hashtag thing, or you can decide to have a really clear message about why you're here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it can be really positive, and doesn't have to be comparison triggering, and it doesn't have to be ego driven or show offy. But that's, depends on who you follow, and you have control over who you follow too. Like, you have control of who's in your feed to some extent, right? You're all, so I don't know, like, once you learn how to manipulate it a little bit and understand, like, your mission and what you want to express and who you're interested in their expressions, there can be some really great things happening. Like, I've definitely collabed with people from Twitter that I would have never expected that benefit from that experience. So it kind of opened me up to it.
For me, they're 100% a tool. Like, I don't look at, if I was left to my own devices, I wouldn't even have any of them. I have them as Yelp. I look at it as a completely separate thing. That's Yelpy, and Yelpy posts a picture, and that's just something that has to be done, and not even 100% sure why it has to be done, but hey, I'll do it anyway, because that's what you're supposed to do. And that's how I look at it. Like, that's literally how disconnected from it I am. And I do that with all of. And the only one I take a little bit more care is my Facebook, because I know my family back home will look at my Facebook, and they like to be kind of involved, I guess. So that might be a little bit more personal.
Me too.
Other than that, it's just I don't really give it much time. I don't even browse it that much. The only time I like pictures on Instagram is when people have liked my picture, I try and like one of their pictures back, and then when I have a chance to go through my phone, I literally just go dup 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 dup, just to like the first few of the people who follow me. So it looks like, I'm interacting a bit, but I'm not really even paying attention to what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It's a total tool, it's a tool.
I'm a liker. I go on and I see people, because I'm all about through finding. See, here's going back to the original topic about happiness. When I was not happy with where I was, I would go on to social media, and it would utterly depress me, because as a human, comparison is going to happen. The thing is how you receive it. It's automatically going to happen. There's no way you can't look at something that you're doing and see somebody doing what you want to do, and then not go and not compare yourself. But the way you control it is how you receive that information and what you do with it. When I was not finding happiness within my success, even I would do something, and it would be great, and it'd be successful. But then what like you said, Christina, then it's over.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fleeting feeling, and so what ended up happening is once I found my happiness outside of my own success, I can go on, and now I can go through Instagram or Twitter or anything, and my vision of what's happening is completely changed.
Right.
And that's what made me a liker, because I'm like, I want to support. I'm here to support, and that's what I'm doing. If this is what you want to do and this is how you're doing it, I'm here to support you, and I want to be that person that's supporting you and following you and actively keeping up with the things that you're doing as much as I can, right? I'm not on there all the time, but that was one of the things that finding my own happiness and being, well, your happiness is always inside you, but being able to choose happiness and put that forward has helped me re-look at the way things are in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helped me to go out and support more as much as I can, and I'm just mainly speaking about like social media stuff, because that's what we were just talking about. But go on to like Instagram or Facebook and support more without that negatively affecting me. Because at certain points it was negatively affecting me because I wasn't happy, and now I'm comparing, which all that is just negative loop cycle, which we know feeds on itself. And then you become, why am I so negative about this? Why does this affect me? Why am I letting it affect me? Why am I even talking about things affecting me? Why am I affected by myself being affected by affection? But yeah, I think.
Yeah. Comparison's a big block for all of us at some point.
But finding your happiness or letting your happiness come forward really helps with that stuff, because then I can compare myself. I'm still comparing, but I'm not negative. It's not a negative thing.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, comparison is normal. I definitely want to just say that it's normal that if it comes up for people. I mean, there's triggers that happen when you feel like you're not doing what you want to do, especially. And it can be really overwhelming when you're trying to start something and you see other people doing the stuff you want to do and you feel like you're so far behind. And like, it's that spiral thing you were talking about, Lloyd. And yeah, like a lot of that comes from taking breaks from that shit sometimes. Like sometimes you really do just need to like walk away from that space and figure out, what is it that you're doing, like just staying focused and just creating boundaries around yourself for a while until you're ready again to have those conversations or to be in those spaces or to, creating some boundaries around that stuff. If that's a big thing that's happening for people out there, if you're going through this, like I just want to put this out there, like if people are going through this right now, like just take a minute from it, give yourself some space and boundaries, know that you're completely
and remember those
normal.
People are probably lying.
Yeah, it's probably not. It's just
probably
like
a post from like 2 years.
Well, you don't. Well, the thing is you don't know their journey. You don't know how long they've been doing all of this. Right. You don't know like how long it took them. You don't have the information. All you have is that snapshot, and that's the lie. That's the deceiving part, because it's not really a lie. It's just deceiving because you're getting this one moment, this one flash of someone's life, and you don't have any history. And it can go both ways. Like when you hear something negative about someone, you don't know the story, so you can, shit all over their life and be like, I can't believe they did that, and oh my God, this person is crazy. But in actuality, it's like, do you really know anything about what's going on in their brain or what happened or their life or the other person's side of the story? Like, it's like the same kind of.
So let me tell you
thing.
now, folks, when you go on to Yelpy's Instagram, Yelpy is a lie.
Yelpy is a lie.
Yelpy's
putting out there. You heard it from the horse's mouth. Yelpy is a lie.
Yeah.
But I like what you said, Christina. You said to me one time, because I remember when I was starting the social media and I was just like really frustrated because I was like, I hate this. Like, this is annoying and I don't know what to do. And I feel like just a total douchebag, like posting pictures of myself. And you said, like, just think about it like a big art project. Like, this is an art, just look at it like an art project. Like, how would you go about that? And like making that to me kind of clicked in. And because it really is, anything you do as an artist, you can make it art. Like if you approach it from that way, like not accounting. No, you can do creative accounting. I'm sorry about that. But something else.
Welcome to Hollywood.
Anything and everything
Accounting
can be
naked.
creative.
Yeah, it can. And so, social media it's really good. Both of you had a very good advice for like kind of steering the ship back. Just what do you have to do? It's, all of this is a facade anyways.
Yeah.
But I think the overall happiness thing was a great topic, and I like how you talked about that before you talked about it. But happiness is so for you guys. Like it sounds like you can make a clear. Let me back it up. What's great about music and what's great about being a songwriter is you can literally do your craft like anywhere. Like, and it's amazing and it's terrible because it's like really hard to sometimes turn off, and like there's always, maybe this is just for me, but there's like always stuff going on. I find such great joy in that. I almost wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. Like I just live in music all the time and I'm like my happiest self. So to not be able to do like that type of thing would be really hard to disassociate from. That's not to say that it's an all or nothing thing, but art, like create that makes me happy. It's so, it's just such a huge part of what makes me happy. I couldn't imagine like touching that with.
Well, I guess for you, Kyle, like, and you bring up a good point, because really what you're saying is how important it is to fall in love with your process. And the idea of knowing how to do that is also a big component for a lot of people. And if it's understanding the process, understanding what that means to you, understanding like the thing we said earlier about success and goals, and like knowing that for you, it's about the process. So you have fallen in love with the process. So for you, your happiness is that love experience of loving that and being able to do that and tap into that at any time. Because luckily, like you said, your process you can do at any point in time. You can just decide to sing to yourself. If you're feeling fucked up and sad, you could just turn on some music, or you could sing, or you could write something, or, and that can be a tool. That can be a tool for your happiness that you can source from yourself at any time, because you have figured out how to fall in love with the process of your art. And that's all you need. If that's all you need, Kyle, that's all you need.
Yeah. Hey man, I have no complaints about life. This is a good life. Just getting to, talk with other artists, like just being able to have people like understand, like, oh, I get you. Like, cause I'm in that crazy brain too. We both have the same equally like intense, crazy, like obsessive, creative brain. So it's good knowing that there's a community of just crazy fucking people out there who are wonderful and like super, like you can't touch, like, something about artists, man, like super, super amazing human beings, super interesting. Like that's happiness to me. And like making things with people that I love and that I respect and who are basically like family. So it's like getting to do that with, the people that you love the most is such a gift. And, I don't know if I don't know how you get much better than that.
Yeah.
So.
And I want to clarify that. Like happiness to me is all emotions. It's not just being smiling and laughing all day long, but it's the allowance of like being angry and sad and upset. But it's this deep inner feeling of loving it all.
Oh yeah, that's good. I love that. Yeah,
that's nice.
Because I'm upset that Chick-fil-A stopped fucking serving their coleslaw, which I used to put on the chicken sandwich, and that shit was bomb as fuck. And they don't got the coleslaw no more,
horrible,
so I'm still upset.
Dang.
But I still go to Chick-fil-A.
Did they send out?
Coleslaw looks like bird vomit.
Yeah, it does. Coleslaw? What are you gonna say?
Did they send out like a memo or like an explanation, something like explaining like, hey, cabbage has E. coli for the rest of the year and we can't.
Hey man,
they're going in another direction. Guys.
You want me to get upset now? I'm so upset.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I'd be angry at that.
But you're still happy.
Yeah, I'm happy.
I still go to Chick-fil-A. I still eat their chicken sandwich, but damn, that coleslaw on a chicken sandwich, that was a hack. No one knew about it. And I don't even like coleslaw, but on that chicken sandwich, It was bomb.
Lloyd's getting sweaty. That sweat rag is just
Lloyd's getting sweaty?
drenched.
Hey,
Lloyd, you should definitely have a shower in about
Do you
9
have
days.
air
hey, I gotta go. Man, it's hot.
It's a hot day. Thank you so much for listening from all of us here at Permission to Play podcast. We hope you invite a little more creative space and permission into your day. We'd love to hear what you think by leaving us a review on iTunes. Please subscribe and share, and you can also find all of us on social media. Till next time, and don't forget to play.